everyone, I rearranged my book collection today and I'm going to show you guys what I've got here. My initial goal was 500 and it still is my initial goal. I'm about halfway there, so this is what I'm working with right now. I have my nonfiction up here on the top shelf, a couple of books on Stalin, my World War II books, Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Here's another book similar to the Anne Frank book that I read recently and did a review of, The Boy, a Holocaust Story. I have my Operation Iraqi Freedom and George W. Bush and Family books here. My Life by Bill Clinton, which I got a little bit more than halfway through. It's long-winded. I've got some books about some musicians here, Colin Powell. I've got Babe Ruth, a book on the Taliban, book by Paul Ryan, who may be our next president. Muhammad Ali, A History of the Arab Peoples. This is one I want to read soon, and I will read it this year. I have a copy of the DSM-5, the Holy Bible, and a book of mostly poetry right here. Down here, I have the Clan of the Cave Bear series, 4 of 5 of those. I've got my Dean Koontz novels down here. A couple Andy McDermott's. I've wanted to try this guy, but I haven't got a chance to yet. The Giver, which I just finished, I want to get the other ones involved with this because it sounds like it may be a good story. I have my John Sandfords, my Nelson DeMilles. My classic section here, Frankenstein, Dracula, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A couple other ones. Frankenstein, which is a illustrated edition. I really love my Frankenstein illustrated. A abridged version of Count of Monte Cristo. I'm not going to read this because of the fact that it's abridged. It did not say abridged when I ordered it. Luckily they gave me a refund for that and let me keep it. To Kill a Mockingbird. I have a Tolstoy. I have some nonfiction here on Ernest Hemingway. A book by Nietzsche. The Man in Black, an old western that I probably won't bother reading. I've got my Anne Rice books here. I have my illustrated Da Vinci Code, which is even more awesome than the illustrated Frankenstein. A couple John Grishams up here. I've got an Ayn Rand, a Michener. I've got some James Rollins novels. I've yet to read this guy, but I will read him soon. Here are my Tom Clancy's and some books inspired by Tom Clancy. I've got The Eye of the World, 2 copies, a couple more Robert Jordan novels, another one here. Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal. Down here is my Stephen King collection. I will collect every one of his novels. Over here I've got my Michael Crichtons on top. I have a couple Preston and Childs, a Vince Flynn, some Jeffrey Devers, the 007. This is a James Bond novel written by Jeffrey Deaver, 007. I'm looking forward to reading that one. I've got a couple James Pattersons. The one on the right here is a nonfiction about a child that was sick, I believe, and what his family went through. I picked that up at Dollar Tree for $1. I've got some Steve Barry's who I've yet to read. I have 5 of his novels. Here's a Joe Hill. I've not read him yet either. I have the Stieg Larsson trilogy, a paperback and a hardback of #1. I have not read these, but I will get to them this year. Some Ken Follett's. I've got a couple James Lee Burks. I've got a couple of these Potter books. I intend to read that as well. I've got 3 Michael Conleys. I don't think that I've ever read him. And I've got 3 of those Jack Reacher books. I've not read these ones, but I have read 4 or 5 other ones, and I really did enjoy them. Up here I've got my R.R. Martins. I've got a couple Clive Cussler adventure novels. I have 2 and 3 of the Bourne Identity trilogy. When I get #1, I'm going to read those. And I have a random science fiction novel down here. And the book that I'm currently reading, Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King. These are my books so far. I believe that I have over 250 now. And I'm shooting for 500. I've got a lot of reading to do. I own way more than I've read since I've moved into my current apartment.